Good morning, everyone. This is our midweek reflection for Wednesday, the 27th of January. And today we're looking at Mark 4, 1 to 20, and it's the parable of the sower. So I just want to give us a few thoughts this morning as we begin to look at that passage. I'm not going to read the passage, you can read that yourselves, but I just want to give you a few thoughts. And uh, sometimes parables can be understood in different ways. You can look at it one day and it says something to you, and another time you look at it and it says something completely different. And often we look at this parable of the sower and the seed, and we tend to concentrate on the different soils, the different areas that the seed is sown in. And when we do that, it's easy to end up judging ourselves and others as we kind of ask the question, what sort of dirt am I? Or what sort of dirt are you? We tend to read and try to understand parables through the lens of our own world view, and they don't always fit. And the result then is that we hear, but we don't really understand. We see, but we don't really perceive the real meaning. At one level, this parable does invite us to be self-reflective and to examine the kind of life that we are living. And there's nothing wrong with doing that if that is done in the right way, of course. But we live in a world that thrives on competition, comparison, and judgment. And because of that, we do have to be careful not to reduce this message as if it's all about the dirt, when actually it has an awful lot to say about the sower as well. You see, we are never just one sort of soil. We go through many different seasons in life, don't we? There are times when the road we travel is hard and arduous. I'm sure we've each had our own rocky moments and our dry moments. Sometimes we may have been scratched and cut by the thorns of life. And at other times we've planted our roots deep and enjoyed the rich life where our spirit and our soul has been well fed and life has been good and fruitful. And we've enjoyed life. So perhaps Jesus is not really just describing different types of soil or circumstances of life. Perhaps he's actually looking deeper within us and seeing our inner story, all of our journey. Maybe these four soils are descriptive of how we live and how we relate to others and to God. Jesus' interpretation of this parable, when he starts to explain what happens to the seeds and what that means, perhaps then may describe the consequences of various stages in our lives. But as I said before, if we just look at the soil, then we are in danger of putting ourselves at the centre of the parable and pushing the sower into the background. In many ways, this story that Jesus tells simply doesn't fit in today's world. Farmers today do not sow seed in this manner, as this parable would suggest. We have much more sophisticated ways of farming now. And to sow in this way would seem to be wasteful and an ineffective use of our time and resources. So we need to allow this parable to offer us a different perspective, for it to give us a glimpse of God, an insight into God's world and what God is like. Parables are not meant to test human intelligence. They're not to stretch us in that way. They are full of grace that simply test our heart's willingness to surrender to the generosity of God as they deliver his message to us. And the generosity of God is exactly what this parable of the sower reveals. We see in this parable that the sower sows the same seeds in all four soils with equal toil, equal hope, and equal generosity. And he does so without evaluating the soil's quality or potential. We see that there is no soil left unsown. No ground is declared undeserving of the sower's seed. So this really is not about the quality of the soil at all, is it? It's about the quality and the nature of God, the divine sower. Now, we may want to judge ourselves and to judge what kind of dirt we are, but God simply wants to sow his life into our lives. So whether we're finding life hard, painful, dry, or good, we are sown equally with the seeds of God. No one, no life, no soil, if you like, is left unsown by this sower. He just spreads seeds here, there, and everywhere. So thankfully, this parable is about God's faithfulness and not about farming, soil quality, or how things work in this world. We have to enter into the sower's world. And in this sower's world, wastefulness gives way to hope. Inefficiency gives way to love, and profitability to generosity. Every part of your life and mine has been sown with the seeds of God. And you know what happens to seeds, don't you? Given the right conditions, they grow and produce the various kinds of fruit sown. They produce a rich harvest of plenty. And we know, because God is faithful, that whatever God sows will bear fruit. 10, 20, sometimes 100-fold what was sown. So take another look at this passage. Read the story again. See what you can see about the sower. If we have ears, then let us hear what the parable of the sower is saying to us today. And let us keep God at the centre. Bye for now, and I'll speak to you again soon. God bless.